So at this point in time, this draft declaration currently reads, Boktadil Declaration on African Environmental Law. We, legal and environmental experts, virtually and physically gathered at the Hassan II on African soil for the African Environmental Law Congress, Water, Desertification and Law, as part of the Second World Environmental Law Congress on July 28 and July 29, 2021, at the invitation of the program and the Mohammed VI Foundation for Environmental Protection. Recalling that the 8th special session of the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment effective post-COVID-19 recovery in Africa reaffirmed the commitment of African countries to, quote, continuing the efforts to conserve, protect, and enhance the resilience of our environment and natural resources as part of our determined efforts in the further that the 8th special session of the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment Ministerial Statement on enhancing environmental action for effective post-COVID an effective recovery from the pandemic could present opportunities to further mainstream environmental considerations across all facets of the African economy, striving an inclusive, sustainable development pathway, one which enhances the availability of the natural resource base and protects the environment. End of quote. For the African Green Stimulus Program as part of the recovery efforts in Africa, which, quote, to contribute to the post-COVID-19 recovery plan for Africa and other response and recovery programs on a more environmental, end of quote. Recognizing further the critical importance for preventing and containing the COVID-19 pandemic of adequate access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services, as well as of appropriate legal tools for combating desertification, soil erosion, halting biodiversity loss, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Stress the importance of public participation in decision-making and non-discriminatory access to information and to judicial and administrative redress, particularly in water, desertification, soil erosion, and climate-related matters. Emphasize the importance of inclusive, integrated, and supportive processes in all multilateral fora related to water, desertification, soil erosion, and climate change, including UNFCCC COP26, UNCBD COP15, UNCCD COP15, and the IUCN World Conservation Congress, inter alia, that are needs of Africa. Call for enhanced and meaningful integration of law and governance dimensions in policy, planning, implementation, and evaluation, in particular with regard to environmental issues related to water, desertification, across African regional cooperation, including the African Continental Free Trade Area and the African Green Stimulus Program, and globally with a particular focus on South-South and of education for sustainable development in all curricula, with a particular focus on environmental education, including law curricula related to water, desertification, soil erosion, and climate change at all levels, including both the rich ancestral African knowledge. Stress the importance for all countries and major groups and stakeholders, including subnational governments, regional integration organizations, and other relevant international organizations, legislatures, to answer to the call of the 2016 IUCN World Declaration on the Environment Rule of Law and contribute to the building, maintenance, and promotion as part of their shared responsibility to responsibility for sustainable development for future generations. Urge for the accelerated development and implementation of an African contextualized translation of principles of international law related to sustainable development into laws and regulations, including a heightened focus on the prioritization of precaution over scientific uncertainty, taking into account the 2020 guidelines of the International Law Association on the role of international law in sustainable natural resources management for development. Further urge for the mainstreaming of water as a public interest good, as well as the prioritization of water over remediation of harm reform and due consideration given to the in dubio pro aqua principle, as outlined in the 2018 Brasilia Declaration of Judges on Water Justice, thus achieving universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water and adequate sanitation for all, and thereby ensuring effective enjoyment of the right to water. Recommend the integration of environmental, ecosystem, and sustainability considerations in the interpretation, application, and enforcement of water and desertification laws, as well as water-related, desertification-related, and soil erosion-related customary systems of sustainable water and land resources management that promote community resilience to climate hazards. Call all countries and major groups and stakeholders in the spirit of the 2016 Marrakesh Action Proclamation for Climate and Sustainable Development for the, quote, for the highest political commitment to combat climate change as a matter of urgent priority, end of quote, placing water, desertification, and soil erosion in order to, quote, inspire solidarity, hope, and opportunity for current and future generations, end of quote. Invite, bearing in mind the deep linkages between water, desertification, soil erosion, and climate change, strengthen engagement, including from the legal and governance community in global, regional, and national initiatives, including, but not limited to, the Marrakesh Partnership for Global Climate Action, the Pan-African Action Agenda on Ecosystem Restoration for Increased Resilience, the Great Green Wall, the African Water Vision for 2025, the African Water Facility, the African Climate Change Fund, the African Renewable Energy Initiative, the Sustainable Energy Adaptation Initiative, the Adaptation of African Agriculture Initiative, as well as the 3 regional commissions, Climate Commission of the Congo Basin, Climate Commission of the Sahel region, and the Small Island State Climate Commission, launched at the first African Summit of Action in Marrakesh in 2016, the latest COP to have taken place on African soil. Underline the critical importance of the provision of support, in particular from developed countries, reflecting especially the principle of equity and international cooperation and the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in the light of different national circumstances, particularly when it comes to the implementation of the Rio Conventions, the Paris Agreement, and the synergies between the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Agenda 2063, in alignment with the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. Express our hope for the transformational emergence of legal and action for peace, the planet, people, prosperity, and partnerships in Africa, particularly for COVID-19 response and recovery action in the areas of water, regionalization of the Maputo African Convention on the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources in view of its direct relevance to the sustainable management of water, soil, and land resources as a matter of urgency. And finally, express our utmost confidence in the potential and ability of our continent to rise to the environmental challenges and create when it comes to African youth and women's education to responsible management of water and land resources. This draft declaration has been prepared by the scientists to reflect them. We invite you to share with us any additional comments you may have. Unfortunately, again, in the interest of time, I will straight away move to the next part of the session. Very much.